indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening to everyone. It's good to see everyone again. You all have received the minutes from our last meeting. We'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
I'll second.
First by Mrs. Baker, second by Mrs. Isgro, Mr. Isgro.
Sorry.
Any questions or comments? Mr. Hancock, call the roll, please.
Mrs. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Isgro?
Yes.
Mrs. Matthews?
Yes.
Mr. Sprague?
Yes.
Mr. Weigel?
Yes. Superintendent's comments. Mr. Holbrook.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I have some recognitions tonight. I first want to recognize our parents and students for a great opening first 4 days. Our students have come to school energetic. They've come to school with masks and prepared. We've had little to no issues with anything involving that. Our parents have been extremely patient as we try to implement this hybrid model. And I just want to publicly compliment all the work. And I know it's a lot of hard work, and I know there's some sacrifices that's been put in. And I think we need to acknowledge that.
Absolutely.
I also want to acknowledge our longtime Director of Transportation, Becky Goosey, is retiring. Actually, tomorrow is her last day, and her work in this district has been invaluable, and she has forgotten more than most of us know about in the world of transportation, working with kids, working with parents, and making sure that our students get to and from school safe daily. And so I want to publicly recognize Becky for all her years of service to the Hamilton City School District. I also want to publicly acknowledge Dustin Mundy. Dustin is a technology coach for the district, but he's also taken on the added responsibility of getting our Virtual Learning Institute up and running, and he has spent tireless hours working to get this up and running. We have over 2,600 students that have enrolled in that, and due to Dustin's hard work and dedication, it's going to be an extremely successful program, but I want to publicly acknowledge all the work that he's done in getting that up and running. And finally, it's been a long 5.5 to 6 months, and we've put a lot of plans on paper, and this week we've started to see if those plans were actually going to be successful. Our administrators, teaching staff, support staff, building and grounds, transportation, food service, maintenance, clerical staffs have all worked extremely hard to get us to this point, and so they all need to be publicly recognized for all the hard work that's gone into the beginning of this school year. And so we're excited about how the school year has started, and we're excited about, getting our kids back in buildings on a daily basis. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Holbrook. We're going to move to item 4 with the consent agenda. Everyone has received the consent agenda. We'll entertain a motion to approve that item.
So moved.
Second.
First by Mr. Sprague, second by Mrs. Matthews. Any questions or comments before we call that? Mr. Hancock, please call the roll.
Mr. Isgro?
Yes.
Mrs. Matthews?
Yes.
Mr. Sprague?
Yes.
Mr. Weigel?
Yes.
Mrs. Baker?
Yes.
Okay. Item number 5, Treasurer's Report.
Mr. President, we have a few items for you tonight. First of all, we have approval of confirming purchase requisitions. We have 5 of those listed for you. Donations, we have a few donations listed, which we recommend the board accept, and of course we have letters of appreciation to go to those donors. Finally, the financial reports for the month of July, and I provided you some information on that earlier this week. And we're doing things just a little bit differently. As you know, we started a new financial software program in July, so one of the reports you're going to see here is going to have a little bit different report or format. And just to make it interesting, I went ahead and changed the format of the monthly cash flow analysis. It's not allowing me to project, but that particular report that you have access to shows the basic spending plan month by month, and we measure that compared to the forecast throughout the year. So that shows you the July estimates to the actual and then the variance. The thing that I put in here new this year, because we're going through this unique time, I think it's invaluable for us to look at where we were in 2019 and where we were in 2018 every month. Because at least for me, it's going to tell me very quickly if something's out of kilter and that we need to look at it. So for instance, we had total revenue of 6.48 million this month. Last year, we had revenue of 9.74 million. And the year before that, 6.9 million. So when I started looking at the particulars, that it doesn't cause me any particular concern because I can see very quickly general property tax. Last year we had an advance come in of just over $3 million. It's just a timing issue. That's fine. It's going to come in, and we'll see that in August here. And you can see it didn't happen in July of 2018 and didn't happen in July of 2020. So it's not necessarily abnormal. In this case, July of 2019 was the difference. So then I started looking at state funding, and we're going pretty much as planned there. And, you know, it's slightly less than a year ago, although I believe there's some coding issue there that's minor that we're working through on the new program, and that will be taken care of in the next month. But you can see where the money goes from on state funding from 2018 at 5.7 million, jumps to 6.18 million, currently at 6.057 million this year. So they're trending, as you can see, and certainly the one from 18 to 19 is because you had a biennial budget change. This year, you've got the deal of having less money at the beginning of July. That makes sense than you did a year ago because you've got the cut that they did in May, that they shoved in 4 or 5 pays. They're starting that right from the get-go. So I would expect the number to be somewhat lower in 2020 as compared to 2019. You can see all other operating revenue. I'm showing that 159,000 behind plan. Doesn't concern me at this time. I straight lined that estimate, meaning I looked at the annual estimate divided by 12. I didn't try to get into any guesses as to what comes in when. I can tell you right now, we got a settlement for $429,000 from Medicaid. The check came in last week. So that number in variance is going to narrow greatly in the next month. And so we'll continue to watch that through the year. That's the revenue side. The expenditure side, we thought we'd be at 7.94 million. We're at 7.879, or just about 60,000 lower than anticipated. And basically, it's purchase services, which are running a little bit lower than anticipated. It's early. Quite frankly, most of these answers I knew when we spread the numbers because we were late in the month as we did all that. And that's typically the way that works in July. So we'll continue to watch it as it goes throughout the year. It's going to be an interesting year. And that's where we're running right now on that particular report. Something that's new for you, the July 2020 cash balances. This one has like 16, 17 pages on it. And it gives you every fund and every special cost center. So it gives you some detail there throughout the report. The quick way to do this is to go to the final 3 pages, pages 14, 15, and 16, or basically a summary of everything in front of it, simply at the fund basis. That's what you're used to seeing in the past, slightly different format because it's a new accounting system, but all the same columns that we've had in the past. So it just shows you very quickly where are you at on your beginning cash balance, your receipts to date for the month and the year, your expenditures month of the year, your current fund balance, your encumbrances, and then your unencumbered balance. What do you need to be doing as a board member when you're looking at those reports? Well, one, the very first line item, general fund, the month-to-date receipts and year-to-date receipts need to equal that previous report we just looked at. And I was going through that, and I was writing my notes to you, and I said that to myself, and I looked at it, and it was off by 20,000. So we had to go back and look exactly and run the reports again, what was going on. Well, there was a process with the new software that was in the midst of getting fixed. And so I ran them again a couple days ago and got that corrected, because that's just one of the checks as a treasurer you got to do. Make sure, especially right now with a new accounting system, that all the numbers are tying together. So your general fund, first line item of this report, the fiscal year-to-date receipts and the fiscal year-to-date expenditures need to match that previous cash flow report that we gave you. And that's just a basic accounting we need to follow. Other than that, when you're looking through all funds from 002 clear down to 300 funds, which are student activities, you should be looking and saying, do we have positive cash balances? Because by law, you should. And you do. Now, when you get into the 400s and 500s, you're going to see some negative cash balances. Those are 400s are state grants. They start with a 4 on the fund number. 500s are going to be anywhere from 5 to 599 is going to be a federal grant. Those will have negative cash balances, and that's okay because we spend the money, we apply for the cash reimbursements, which is one of the things actually I was doing in the earlier meeting, going through some things, and we get the money back at the beginning of the next month. And so it just run that way all the time. And that's fine. Otherwise, you'd be making advances and it wouldn't make any sense. So it works out very well for us. So again, 4s and 500s, those can run a little negative. The rest of them should all be positive. And that's just to give you a little update on how the financial reports are running. Any questions?
Any questions?
Thanks for all your work on
Yes.
navigating the accounting system.
I'll tell you, Jeremy Fraser has done a wonderful job. The entire staff has. They put in a lot of hours. And that's something we knew when that assistant position came open a couple of years ago. I knew we were going to need to go through this process, and I knew Jeremy personally, and he'd gone through this type of work before with the county, and he's just been excellent. He really leads us through that process, and it's not something I would be able to get into that kind of detail. That's a different type of skill set to be dealing with, and it's really an advantage if you've gone through and done it, particularly for a bigger organization like the county, and in a very similar type system. So yeah, he's done a great job. We're continuing to work through it. We'll continue to work through it all year. It's like any time you do an new accounting system, first time in 40 years that we've done a new accounting system. So nice that we get the privilege to do that. But the first 6 months, I'm sure there's going to be some trials to get through it, but we'll be fine. And then after 6 months, what they tell you is you're going to look back and say, wow, why didn't we do that sooner? And so that's what we're planning on, and we'll continue working hard.
We need to approve that, don't we?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we accept Mr. Hancock's financial reports.
Second?
We have first by Mr. Isgray, second by Mrs. Baker. Any questions or comments? Okay, Mr. Hancock, call the roll, please.
Mrs. Matthews?
Yes.
Mr. Sprague?
Yes.
Mr. Weigel?
Yes.
Mrs. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Isgro?
Yes.
Okay, before we adjourn, I just have some announcements for our next meeting. Our next meeting will be September 10th. We will not be in regular session. It will be an executive work session only from 4:30 to 6:30, and no business will be conducted. And then September 24th, we will have our next scheduled normal board meeting. We'll start at 6:30. Prior to that, we will be in executive session. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So adjourned. Second?
Second. I don't think we need to vote on that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody doesn't want to stay?